I'm gonna just turn my detector off there. I'm using the Manticore today. I'm gonna talk for a minute, or for several minutes. I got some buttons here in my back pocket, or some piece of paper that I wrote my some stuff on. Okay, look at this wallet here. Look at this wallet. I've had this wallet for 21 years, man. Still going strong. So, I have some buttons here, or some piece of paper bag that I've written some factors or some variables that are out of our control when we're metal detecting. Today is a really tough day to metal detect in this park. The last few months have been really hard to metal detect in this park because the ground is dry and hard as concrete. The grass is dormant, right? This is summertime, this is late summer. It should be raining here in the next few days. Our rains should be coming here in the next couple weeks. And so there's so many variables out of our control and they're always changing. I can come this park over and over and over and over again in the same exact spot in the park, and the conditions are always changing in that certain spot, right? And we have to adapt to those conditions, those changing conditions all the time. So these squares here are what is under our control. All these circles here is the variables out of our control. See the proportion here? Look what's under our control and what's out of our control, all right? Let's just start with dry soil. Today, dry soil. Your metal detector is not really going to respond very well to targets in the ground, especially deeper targets in dry soil. And we have dry soil here for many months of the year. It's just super dry in the summers. We've had probably our driest summer on record since 1896. The records were had started for my area, for my city, and just from right now, from April to August, it was the third hottest and the third driest season on record, of those months on record. And that's not including August or September, right? And we're in middle September now, so it's probably gonna be the driest and hottest summer on record. It just happens. You know, a few years ago we had the summer lasted until October and the soil was dry, dormant like this, right? EMI, electromagnetic interference. You can get EMI, conductive EMI, from the ground. There's dew on the ground. If the ground is really wet and there's little droplets of dew on the grass or the stubble, it really messes with your detector. And EMI can come from solar flares. EMI can come from routers. I mean, I'm in a neighborhood here. When I get close to the fence back there, I tend to get a lot more EMI, or if I'm on a curb strip, lots of EMI on curb strips. And the EMI also comes from the overhead power lines. This is out of our control, right? We have to adapt to the conditions to get more out of our hunt, right? Cat and dog shit. This park I call actual dog fight park because there's so many dogs in this neighborhood, and the whole edge up there is just lined with cat crap and dog crap, just everywhere. Just today I was over there and there's a lot of poop back there, and even cow poop. When you swing over your detector over cow poop, it'll respond to the minerals in the cow poop. And you know, that'll pretty much end my hunt when I'm digging in a bed and I dig up some cat poop, because it makes your hands smell. You can never get that smell off your hands, right? So you have to adapt to it. You know, you just have to work your way around the cat poop. And it's changing. All this is changing. Tree roots. All these trees have roots in them, so the deeper targets, they're gonna be really tough to get. I have another park down that way about a mile. I call Evil Root Park, and it has the worst roots ever. Just a mat of rooting. It's like a fiber that goes through the whole curb strip, and a majority of the park is just curbs. Mower noise, train noise, and traffic noise, like when you're on a curb strip, you know, I have to adapt to it. I have to really, it's very, very difficult to metal detect on the curb strips during rush hour because I just can't hear my detector and my camera cannot capture the tones. I want the camera to capture the tones. And even with overhead air traffic, you know, planes and whatnot, if I'm metal detecting near the airport, it's really noisy. I have a lot of air traffic, and it really affects my hunt. Especially trains too. We have a lot of train tracks going through our town here. Flooding. The flooding is a major thing in the wintertime here. This park isn't too bad, but most parks in my area, it's just flooded, you know, in the wintertime. They're just standing water, you know, because it rains a lot in the wintertime. We have a lot of rain in our off months, you know, when it's not dry, when it's not summertime, it just pretty much it rains all the other seasons, you know. We have a pretty wet climate here. The high water tables, you know, can have a huge factor on your detector performance. You know, sometimes you can't use higher frequencies when it's really wet out, when the ground's saturated, so you have to adapt. Frozen ground. A lot of people have frozen ground for the whole winter, so they're not able to detect. You know, all these are going to have an impact on your flooding or on your detecting, or they're just going to stop you from metal detecting. You know, I've had a lot of spots where the EMI was so bad, I got to move on. And sometimes I can come back later on and the EMI won't be as bad. Like if somebody's not using the router, or like this school has really bad EMI right behind me. This school has really bad EMI during school hours, but I can come here when the school's not in session and the EMI is not there. Really bad EMI. Twigs, leaves, and stones in the soil or on the surface. The leaves can be a huge factor. You know, if the leaves are this thick, that means your detector is not going to go nearly as deep because you're this far above the soil there. The twigs, you know, a lot of these trees don't drop a lot of branches in this area, but over there on the front of the park, there's a lot of branches. One year we had a huge ice storm here, and this park, I'm kidding you not, all of our parks with the trees in it had limbs and branches this tall for 3 months because it took them so long to clean up all the parks. I mean, they were having to worry about all the streets there because they were a bunch of branches crashed on the homes there. So, you know, all this stuff is out. This is the stuff that's out of our control, and it's changing. It's always changing. Sometimes I have these factors to deal with, you know. Grassroots. The grassroots are always changing too. Every few weeks, the grassroots are changing in this park, or over in this area, or over in that area of the park, or over that area of the park. In the summertime, those grassroots become shallower and less dense because they want to go into dormancy. You know, the grass is going into dormancy to protect itself from dying, from damage. And it's a natural part of the grass to go dormant. And our summers are really dry here. It's just like this all summer long, you know, for several months out of the year. But I adapt and I go somewhere else. I'm not hunting in this dry soil. All the parks are like this, just dry soil, you know. And the grassroots are always changing, you know. Some grassroots are really thick. Some are really not very dense, but some grassroots are really hard to get through, even with a shovel. During hunting season, during metal detecting season, you know, pretty much the springtime and the winter time are really good times to metal detect here. We don't have to really worry about too much of this stuff. Hornets, chiggers, ticks, crocs, ivy, poison oak. But in the summertime, we have all those. You know, we don't have to deal with any there's no crocodiles here or alligators, but there's a lot of mosquitoes. You know, mosquitoes are a big thing too, and it's always a battle. There's always something that's going to stop you or prevent you from metal detecting. I don't get shut down a lot, but I can always adapt, right? I can always adapt. And there's going to be a lot more of these. I just was naming a few of them. Hot rocks and coke. There's a lot of hot rocks in some of our farm fields, and they're just really a pain. We don't have coke in our area. We don't have industrialized, we don't really have the history for coke here in our area, but the coke can really wreak havoc on your hunt too. Some detectors have the coke rejection or the hot rock rejection, but I just choose not to use those types of rejections. Other detectorists, if this has been hunted already, or if there's other detectorists near you, you're going to have to adapt your frequency or your hunting style to what they're doing or how close they are to you. And you know, if the site's been heavily hunted, you're going to have to adapt your settings on your detector and adapt your strategies to adapt to a hunted out spot. Thatch, that layer between the blades of grass and the soil. So that layer of, it's not only dead grass, but it's a live grass, and that layer of thatch can be very thick, and it can be very difficult to get targets near the surface when the thatch is thick. And that thatch is always changing. Different fields have a different amount of thatch, and that thatch is always changing thickness throughout the year, right? Sunlight, angle, and darkness. Some people have to deal with darkness, or yeah, they're starting to blow away here. Look at all, they're starting to blow away here. You guys see what I'm talking about here. The sunlight, with my camera, I can't, it's really difficult to metal detect in the sunlight, and I can't see my screen too in the direct sunlight. And if the angle of the sun is very low on the horizon, it's very difficult to turn around and dig targets out and not get those solar flares on my lens. So land developers progress. You know, there's always land developers always wanting to come over and put homes where our metal detecting sites are. I have several epic sites that I've had throughout the years that have just been developed on. There's homes and stuff up there now. Wind, limbs, and noise, wind noise and limbs. You know, this park is very dangerous. Any park that has trees is very dangerous in the wintertime, especially when it's raining, because the limbs can drop on you. I've had a couple very close calls that are on video, that very dangerous. When it's windy out or when it's raining really hard, I just don't go in the forested areas. I'll stay out in the open areas. It's just too dangerous. I don't want to get hurt metal detecting. Temperature, humidity, rain, that has a huge impact on your hunts in the summertime. A lot of people have high humidity, and I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they metal detect in high humidity. Minerals and hot ground. We have a lot of minerals in our ground here, and it will just shut down most detectors. I get about half as much depth as most other people because they don't have minerals in their ground there. It can really affect. This is a blank one because there's just so many other variables that I'm not naming. Crops, you know, for a majority of the year, there's crops on our fields, so we can't really hunt fields. And the reason why I don't hunt forests that are not maintained, like this park here, if I just try to go out to a forest, like an overgrown area, they're so overgrown, 20-foot tall sticker bushes. There's just no way to get through it. I live in Oregon, so the Pacific Northwest is just really, stuff grows super fast here in the wintertime. Tall grass, you know, the grass is always changing. You know, they could come by here tomorrow and mow it, you know, or in the wintertime, they mow it a lot too, because we don't get snow here in the wintertime. I have a really mild climate here. And the grass could be this tall one day, and the next day they can mow it really short. And the grass grows 6 to 8 inches here in the wintertime, or in the springtime, it'll grow 6 to 8 inches a week. So, and stubble too, you know, that really affects the performance of your detector. So here's the 3 variables that are in our control. So I just looked at my camera to see, yeah, I just lost one of my squares there. So I got 3 squares here. One is your mental state. Your mental state is a huge factor that you have control over. If you're not really finding much, you can just prepare yourself for your hunt, and just know whatever happens, you're gonna have a good time. No matter what you're finding, no matter what happens, you're gonna have a good time and fun. That's what I wanna do. I wanna have fun. We can choose when and where to metal detect. So like I said, some days this site will have a lot of EMI, it'll have a lot of noise. The ground will be very mineralized in that spot. The grass roots are really thick on that day, and it's raining, right? And there's coke in the field there, right? So it's always changing. It's always changing, man. When and where, so I can choose when to metal detect on those sites. So, and the most control that we have is our gear. You know, what metal detector, what program, what coil, what shovel, what gloves, what camera, what knee pads, what boots, what hand digger, what bag, all that stuff. But if you really look at it, we don't have much control over our metal detecting hunt. But we have to adapt to the conditions. And it's not easy. It's not easy metal detecting. If it were easy, I probably wouldn't be doing it, to tell you the truth. I do it because it's a challenge, and I do it because I'm outside, and it's a hobby that I can do outside. And I get good exercise. I walk to a lot of my sites, or I'll bike to a lot of my sites. But see, look at this. See all the wind blowing all this stuff away here? We don't have control over a lot of stuff when we're metal detecting. So, well, thank you for watching.